Welcome back to Hintzes in the House. We are the Hintzes. This is our house.
I like how that's become our standard intro every time. We are the Hintzes. This is our house.
Well, otherwise...
What's going to happen when we're not the Hintzes and we're not in our house?
Why would we not be the Hintzes?
I don't know.
Where would we be that wasn't our house?
I don't know, but what... I mean, we're not in our house all the time. I would say...
I just mean, like, where would we be recording this that wasn't our house? Even if we move houses, it'll still be our house.
Drink of choice today is some lemony water. A little bit more lemon than I was anticipating, but...
That's fine. You know, it happens. Drink of choice today is regular water because I don't need enhancers in my water.
Yep. Tune in next week to find out what new and interesting drinks we'll have.
Oh no, I'm not ready for that precedent. I can almost guarantee you I will still have water.
I can almost guarantee you I will have no drinks.
Yeah.
Who knows,
This is
though?
the exception, not the rule. All right, so today, Ethan, what are we talking about? Tell me.
I don't know. What are we talking about?
We decided this like 3 minutes ago. Did you forget?
No, I know what we're talking about.
Tell me a time that you took a road trip.
A time or...
Tell me several times you took road trips.
I took many road trips in my life.
Many.
You see, grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, which at this point should hopefully be no one. But, you know, who knows? People might not know.
This might have some crossover, too, with our family vacations episode.
Most likely. But we didn't have, like, a ton of family, per se, like, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Oh, sure. Like, my uncle and aunt both lived in, Pompano, maybe? I don't know. Okay. Like, really close to Fort Lauderdale.
I know the ones you're talking about. But other than that...
Yeah, Chuck and Sandy.
Yeet.
On my dad's side. But then aside from that, we didn't really have any, like, local family. At least none that I've ever been made aware about. My grandma on my dad's side also, like, when she got really old, she went to a nursing home. That was in Fort Lauderdale. So she kind of lived near-ish. But
she just kind of lived.
Yeah. But no, so anytime we had to go see family, it was a road trip. And I think I've talked about my other grandparents lived in Daytona Beach.
Yep.
And that was like a 4-hour drive. So 4 hours is like the tippity-toppity of a road trip when it comes to road trips, you know?
Like the beginning stages, like for it to still be considered a road trip. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying a 4-hour road trip is hardly a road trip.
Right, yeah.
You know, like, for me, a road trip is, like, 8 hours plus.
Yeah.
Typically, when you're thinking about, like, a road trip, like a road trip, it's going to be, like, 8 hours plus. So we, obviously, like I said in Vacations episode, we went up there quite often. But... I don't know. Nothing ever really, like, stands out. As a kid, it was, like, 4 hours in the car going to Daytona Beach.
Forever.
Yeah. Felt like the entire lifetime. Like, I mean, and we had the van. Alex and Silas have a great... It was their first episode, I believe. First or second episode they did on their podcast. They talked about the big white van that we had growing up. And that was a great van. It had 7 seats because there were 7 of us total. Mom, dad, 5 kids. So it was mom and dad in the pilot and co-pilot chair. And then there were 2 captain's chairs where usually Savannah and Augusta sat. And then me, Alex, and Silas all sat back row bench. It had buttons and they would, you could turn the seat into like a bed, like a full on like bed.
Wow. That's the kind of van you want to live in.
Yeah. I mean, not with 7 people, but,
well, no.
You know, maybe by yourself, sure, yeah. But that was a great van. It also had a TV and a VHS player. And it had a slot for, like a PlayStation or a Nintendo or something like that, but there was nothing in it, and we never, like, added any sort of video game console to the car. And the TV was pretty trash, so... The TV, it had a little, like, obviously an on-off button, but the button for the on-off broke.
Oh.
So then there's just, like, a little, like,
pin
in the back that you could, like, stick, like, something in to, like, hit it to turn it on. And it was pretty interesting, actually. You could get, like, TV stations. Like, you could pick up, like, the radio waves from TV. And sometimes you could, like, tune into, like, PBS or something like that. But typically we would just plug in VHS tapes and just watch movies in the van on road trips. And that was nice because it made the road trips
go faster.
Seem to go by faster than if we were just not. But I don't know. We didn't really have like a ton of road trip stories.
I would say that from my experience growing up, there was one, and that I think everyone heard on family vacations when we drove to Montana from California when I was younger. But I think that was the only real road trip that I took. Like you said, 4 hours kind of constitutes the beginning stages of a road trip. You're not really in a road trip until you're over the 4 hour limit, about an 8 hours plus limit. And so my whole life, I just flew everywhere. Like I had my first flight at 3 months old. I flew by myself for the first time at 7.
Samesies, and I went to Russia.
Okay, you know what? This is not about that. This is about the fact that like my mom was a single
competition.
parent.
Everything is a competition.
Yay! My mom was a single mom, and if I wanted to go anywhere, and none of my family lived nearby, so visiting anyone was a flight. It was a flight to Arizona from California, right? It was a flight to Arizona, a flight to Tennessee, a flight to New York. It was a flight anywhere to see anybody. So there was not
so many road trips.
Not so many road trips. I didn't really start road tripping until I met you. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I refer to us now as the road trippers. Like we get in a car and we drive. Like we have a plan. We know where we're going. It's not like we're just like, oh, we're just going to drive. But we are.
We were in Florida. What?
I feel like we've actually only flown together once.
Yeah.
And in that, like, it's like.
-10. Do not recommend.
I just don't remember the experience, honestly. I think I block it out.
Experience.
I think I block out all flight experiences. Yeah. But we've only flown together once, and that was just last year. Was it? Yeah, last year in October. So we are definitely the road trippers. So I would say first road trip that we took together was to the cabin.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. Pretty sure.
Are you sure it wasn't to go see your...
That was the next year.
Mom and Dad, Mom and Paul?
No.
Mom and Dad.
Rip.
Ex-stepdad, whoever. It's hard to keep track.
So that first year that we were together in South Florida, so Paul used to have family in West Palm Beach, and they came down to visit his family for Christmas. We only had started dating on like December 1st, and so he had come down. They had both come down. You went to North Carolina with me the next year when I turned 21.
But I'm pretty sure that was the first time I met your parents.
When we went up there?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think they came down that first year I met you. I don't know how much time we spent with them, but...
I don't think so, because I don't think I spent any time with them.
Either way. Oh, you know what? Maybe they came down for Greek Easter the following year, and that's when you met them? Either way, we started dating December.
Did your mom bring you the
1st.
fanny pack before or after we went to North Carolina?
I don't remember. I remember that, though.
I remember, they came down to hang out with your...
But what birthday was that? I think that might have been 20, so that's why I'm thinking that's why they came down. Okay. Anyway. We went on our first road trip, I think, to the cabin because we had started dating in December of 2014.
I wonder if the mic picked that up.
You're cracking knuckles?
Picked up those ones.
Oh, well. This is not an ASMR podcast. Sorry if that sound bothers you.
Actually, from here on out, it is an ASMR podcast. So, welcome to Hintzes in the ASMR house.
I really am hoping that you didn't turn up your volume for that, because I will not be doing that.
No, I didn't. I left it at the same volume.
No, I'm talking about the listener.
Oh, yeah. Did you turn it up? Is this relaxing? I have no idea. Am I too close to the mic? Can you even hear me?
This is stressful for me.
That's probably not making very good content.
Okay, great. So we took our first road trip, I think, to the cabin. So we started dating in December of 2014. We got engaged in May of 2015. And so that first trip was to the cabin, which is why I'm thinking this. So Ethan's family went ahead of us to Daytona to stop off at your grandparents' place. Okay. And we were going to drive up to Daytona and meet them there and continue from there to the cabin. And I remember this because this is the trip that we got engaged on. and you were giving me such a hard time. Do you remember this? Do you know what I'm talking about now?
Right, but I'm saying we had to have seen your parents before
Right,
this.
which is why I'm thinking they came in December.
But we went to their house when
The
we
next
weren't
year.
engaged.
No.
We were not engaged. I'm 100.
There's no way.
100%.
We went to
sure.
that place for my 21st birthday. Because we went to the winery. That's a whole other story. We'll get there.
Maybe.
So, right at the rate we're going. So that first road trip, in my mind, was up to the cabin. And we take this drive up, just the two of us, to Daytona from, I think I had to stay behind, I had to work, and you had to work or something like that. And so we're still in South Florida, headed up then to Daytona. And I remember my roommates being like, are you sure you want to go on a vacation with his family? You've only known him for like 3 months. And it was like this whole thing. Oh, well, no, I guess it was 6 months at that point. Anyway, so I went, and we had a great time, obviously. One of the things that I had said to Ethan before we got engaged was, make sure that my nails look good before we get engaged.
Didn't we cover this in the engagement?
Because I think we were just talking early dating.
Not engagement.
So I said, make sure my nails look good. And so the Wednesday before we leave, we were leaving on like a Friday or something. He looks at my hand in the car after the Icon, the college service. We were headed to Chili's. Rip. And he looks at my hand in the car, my left hand. He goes, you think your nails look pretty good right now? And I'm like, yeah. Why? And he's like, no reason. And I'm like, why would you be asking about the state of my nails? So you've already planted this mini seed in my brain that something's up.
I feel like that's a pretty big seed.
Yeah, right. So then we go on this road trip to Daytona, right? This mini road trip, I should say, like the first leg of this trip to the cabin. And he's back and forth between this might happen.
Is this a story about road trips or about
because we're on the road trip, both and. He's going back and forth.
I had a completely different story to tell for this one.
Between this is going to happen, this might not happen, I don't know, we'll see, totally good. Well, you're way off base. Like halfway gaslighting me, but in a playful, funny way. And it was just I was so confused and I was so turned around, and I called my mom and I was like, he's messing with me so hard. And my mom was like, he doesn't have that kind of money. And then she calls you later to be like, what is going on? And he told her like the whole plan and this whole shebang, all of these things. And so we get to where we're going, which is Daytona. We get up there and meet up with your family and drive the rest of the way to the cabin. And then we ended up getting engaged on that trip after a false positive sort of situation. But
a false positive what? Because that makes it sound like you were false positive pregnant, and that was not the case.
It was a fake out. I was looking for some Advil, and I stumbled upon a box, and it was the ring box.
Don't even lie. You were snooping in my bags.
Not snooping.
And you found something.
Did we tell this story? We didn't tell this story.
I have no idea.
I don't
we'll
think
have to
we
look
told
through
this
our
story.
archive and figure out if this is a story to tell.
Well, I'm going to tell it briefly now. There are two
It's
sides
lies.
to every story, and I will tell my side really quick, and then
I'll
you
tell
can...
the truth.
Okay. My side of the story is every time we go to the cabin, there's a work day. Him and his brothers were working outside with his dad. I was working inside with his sister to hang up home decor. I had a headache. I asked where the medicine was, and he said it's in the such and such pocket of my backpack. So I went through his backpack to find it, and I happened upon a ring box in the process. And I happened upon a black box, like just not a hinge box, but like a
Yes, a black cardboard box.
Yeah, black cardboard box with a silver bow. But I knew that he had gotten the ring from Etsy, so I was suspicious. And a time before, when there was a surprise and I didn't tell him that I knew about the surprise beforehand, he got all upset. So I tell him later in the evening, hey, I found this box. And he said, don't worry about it. I said, what does that mean? And you were like, okay. And I was like, okay, great. So I go take a shower from day after work, come back. He's all in the room, all puppy dog eyes, sad. He's all distraught over this box.
Which I don't think I was that sad
You
or
were
distraught. Okay, sure.
So I open this cardboard box. There's a little note on the bottom that's like this little... I had a promise ring ordered and it didn't get here in time, and I'm really sorry, but I promise to love you, and all of these things. And I had a brief second of thought of like, that's really dumb because we're about to get engaged, but he looks really upset, so I'm with it, whatever. So I like totally just believe this. I'm thrown completely off this engagement track. And then on Friday, when we're up on the skylift overlooking Gatlinburg, he popped the question, and it was a big deal. I was very, very shook because I was really off the track.
And the the initial plan was to get engaged in Rock City, but Rock City was closed on the way up. So that plan went out the window. So that was like, well, guess we're going to do sometime in Gatlinburg, but I'm not going to do it like
at the cabin,
the Cherokee
randomly,
Grill.
yeah.
I mean, I would maybe do it on the cabin, like outside of the cabin.
Right.
Like that would be way better than doing it like out front of the Cherokee Grill.
Right.
Like,
Something
I'm not going
random.
to do that. But the real story goes that I was outside working and you came to me and you were like, hey, I want some Advil. And I was like, okay, knowing that I have a ring in my backpack that is supposed to be a surprise for all intents and purposes. Hey, there's Advil on the nightstand next to the bed. Go crazy.
Either
And
it
then
wasn't
you came
there
back and
or
we're like, no, because I went in there and it was sitting on the nightstand.
maybe that's where I put it back.
Okay. Just what a liar would say.
There's a good chance that you told me it was there. It wasn't there. I went through your backpack, found it, and put it there so
There's
that it would be
a
there.
bad chance that that is the case because I knew to take stuff out of my backpack that you maybe would want because I didn't want you with the backpack.
So there's that story.
Anyways,
The rest of the trip
that's
was great.
our engagement story. Yeah.
And the road trip back was
Right.
great.
Now, I would have I don't know. I was going to say I would have totally gotten engaged on the suspension bridge.
Oh my gosh.
Like, can you
absolutely
imagine?
Not. Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine
no,
if
no,
I
no,
was
no,
somehow
no, no,
able?
no, no,
This
no,
is
no,
like
no.
if I was able to get the guys on either end to like stop people from coming at a certain point, so it was just me and you out there at some point, like in the middle, and I got engaged right there, like that. That would be pretty cool. You gotta admit.
That would be, but I think I would be so afraid. The middle of the suspension bridge is so stressful.
But no one else would be walking on it, so it wouldn't be.
Oh, it
bouncing.
wouldn't be. I don't know.
Anyways,
I think that it would just be
the-
too like nervous, and then you would like fling the ring over the side, and it would be this terrifying.
Now that we've had that sentimental
Rip.
trip down our getting engaged road trip lanes,
Tell me another road trip.
let's tell some road trips about how our marriage or our dating almost ended when we were going. I hate road trip games. I freaking hate road trip games. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Okay, I will say
hate
that okay. So I think this was the trip
to
to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate the alphabet game because it sucks and it's boring and it's stupid. And there are many ways that people play the alphabet game. I'm curious. Do you play that the letter you're getting has to be the first letter of a word except for like Q's, Y's, Z's?
I play differently based on who I'm with and what their rules are. So don't have an answer.
Growing up as kids, if we ever played it, we played it where
It has to be the beginning.
any letter,
Any
word.
That's
and
how I grew
multiple
up.
people could get the same letter if they saw it.
No.
You know, because someone would just say like A, and it's like, well, there's 5 of us,
Oh.
6 of us maybe playing the game. Like you don't know which window. You don't know if they saw it on a car,
No, we would have
billboard.
to say the letter and what word we got it from, but it didn't have to be the start of the word.
But no one else could have the
Other
word.
than right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were also like 7 of us playing potentially, so only so many letters.
Right.
But I hate that game. And then I don't
Banana
know what other.
whack you don't like, and
What's banana whack?
when you see the yellow card and you smack someone and say banana whack.
That's a thing.
Yes.
I knew about like the punch buggy game.
Also that.
Where you punch somebody, where you beat somebody up whenever you see a love
first of all,
bug.
I would say that
I love you so much, I'm gonna beat you up.
I remember learning banana whack when I was like a junior in high school.
I remember learning punch buggy game from Lilo and Stitch because Stitch brings in the punch buggy. He's like, blue punch buggy, and then he throws it at whoever he's fighting.
It wasn't ever punch buggy for us. It was slug bug.
Yeah, okay, that sounds even more violent. Like when I think slugging someone, I think
banana
about
whack when
either
I was,
hitting them just like square in like the eye, or like using a baseball bat to like beat somebody up. Like
banana whack was a junior year thing. We were going to some church camp and we were in separate cars, and I think guys and girls were in separate cars, and so we were like texting each other back and forth, banana whack, like crazy people. It was great.
that sounds even
Dumber.
lamer.
Yeah, it was really dumb. And then the license plate was that part of your sign game? Like, or did you get letters? Were you allowed to get letters off of license plates, or was that separate? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I Spy.
Yeah, I also dislike I Spy, mainly because it's like, I spy something green. It's like, is it that tree. No.
It's the tree
It's the
we
tree
passed.
next to it. Like, there's just not much to see. Or if there was, it was like, I spy something red, and it's like, that red car passing us right now? It's like, yeah, I guess so.
And also 20 questions.
You could sometimes kind of play I Spy, like, within the van. If there was enough junk, you could, like, be like, oh, I spy something purple, and there's, like, a little dot of purple on something. And it's like... But not 20 questions. This is the game that almost ruined our relationship. So
okay, so this is the road trip we were taking to North Carolina. And let me preface by saying we were headed up to North Carolina to meet my parents. They lived there. And go, I mean, Ethan had met them, but like to meet up with them, I should say. We were going to go for my 21st birthday. I wanted to go on a wine tasting at Duplin Winery. I had this planned for like a year in advance before I even knew you. And so I was like, I'm already doing this. Obviously, we were engaged at the time, and I said, come with me.
don't think so.
I'm going to look up a picture. You keep telling your story. I'm going to look up a picture. We were engaged. I promise you. I was 22 when we got married. Or I was 21 when we got married. Which means I had to have turned 21 at the end of 2015. It was my 21st birthday.
I feel like this trip was earlier.
No.
I feel like this trip was like right after we met.
There's no way.
I'm pretty sure it was like right after we met.
There's no way, babe.
Okay.
Carry on.
Pretty sure it was right after we met. Anyways, so 20 questions. Hate this game now too.
I'm so
because
we literally
first
have
off, you start out this
photos
game
taken in August
by asking animal, vegetable, mineral. Like, what kind of questions are those? That's so stupid. The questions are so stupid to like narrow down. But then we start this game, and I was thinking of a hubcap of a car because you're driving, so that's all you're thinking about is other cars. So I'm thinking about a hubcap.
There's literally an engagement ring on my finger in this photo.
That could be a purity ring.
No, it is not. It is my engagement ring. Look at how freaking... Look at it. Look at it. Here's a close-up of this one. You can see it right there. That is not my purity ring. My purity ring was flat.
Sure. Anyways.
Carry on.
So I was thinking of a hubcap, and you're asking me all these questions, you know, trying to narrow it down. And then I don't remember how many questions we were in. Not very far in. And I have two discrepancies with the way you played this game. So first off, you go, is it smaller than a bread box?
Standard question in 20 questions, by the way. First off,
what the heck even is a bread box?
Doesn't matter.
What is that it's even
Standard
supposed to mean? Like,
you ever seen a bread box?
No.
It's a place where people keep their bread.
I'm like, is it like a giant cardboard box with like tons of bread in it?
No, it's like a counter box. It's made of wood, and it has like a roll top, and you put your loaf of bread in there, and it sits on the bread box on the counter.
I have never seen a bread box.
Because
and I said that.
You have lived under a rock for your whole life.
Okay. Hurtful. I've done plenty of stuff with my life. You did say that
when we were playing 20 questions. You did say, I don't know what a bread box is.
I
Can you
have
give
no
me an
idea
equivalent?
what a bread box is. So then you said a microwave.
And I'm
thinking...
thinking...
Which the way you are describing a bread box seems like you could fit a bread box inside of a microwave.
Right, which was my intent. Like when I asked you, is it bigger than a microwave? I was relating, could it fit inside a microwave? But that's not what I said. What I said was, is it bigger than a microwave?
I was like, microwaves are big. Hubcaps, not that big. So no, it cannot fit inside a microwave. So then you were like, no,
it's not bigger than a microwave, is what you said.
Yeah, whatever I said at the time. Even, I'm pretty sure I could shove a hubcap into a microwave.
No, I thought I said, is it smaller than a bread box? And you said, I don't know what a bread box is. And I said, then is it smaller than a microwave? And you said no. Did you say no or did you say yes? I thought you said yes.
Yes, it's smaller than a microwave.
Yeah, and I was like, what the frick? Thinking then whatever object it was could fit into a microwave.
Bring me a hubcap. Bring me a microwave. I will fit that dang hubcap inside that dang microwave.
Bread box comparison.
No one cares what a bread box is.
This is a bread box. Tell me it doesn't look like a microwave.
It doesn't. It looks like a card. It looks like a stupid wooden box.
Like a traditional bread box. It looks like... Hold on. Look at them. Look at that. That could be a microwave.
No, it couldn't.
Yes,
maybe if you have got some serious issues with the way that you view a microwave. This is not the point. Apparently, we still have some unhealed trauma and wounds that have not ever been fully dealt with.
I'm just saying. This is what I was thinking of. Yep, look. That is microwave sized.
I have no idea what size that is. There's no scale of reference.
It says 17 inches by 11 by 7.5.
Okay. That
So
seems
you
a
do
lot
your
smaller
little-
than a microwave. Anyways, it was a hubcap. You got super mad because
A hubcap is not smaller than a
you
microwave.
were like, there's no way a hubcap is smaller than a microwave. And I'm like, okay, yes, it is. Like, a tire is almost smaller than a microwave. And if we're talking about, like, volume, tires are probably smaller than microwaves.
So that was a point of
Anyways,
contention.
so I won that one, and you had dumb questions.
Well, then the next one.
Then you've got something that you're thinking of, and I rifle through. I don't remember the course of questioning that I took, but we were passing some like sawgrass, I think, at the time. Which, if you don't know what sawgrass is, it's grass. It's very tall, and it has sharp little like saw type edges on it. And when it rubs together, it like it sounds like saws or something. I don't know. It also has saws. You could use it to saw another piece of grass in half, I guess.
Sorry, it sounds like what? Oh, okay, great.
Back to the ASMR podcast. Anyways, after all the yelling, we need a little bit of AMR.
Oh.
I just
no.
said AMR.
No.
Anyways, I was like, is it grass? Thinking we're passing grass. You were like, no. So then I'm like, okay, I know it's green. I know it's alive. I know it's small. You know, I'm asking all these
Can I
different
just have
plans.
this? 'Cause I just
I'm
need
having
to know
all
that you
these
still love me.
plans. At the end, you go, it was a blade of grass. And I was like, I freaking said grass. Just because I didn't say a blade of grass, that doesn't mean that I didn't get it. Okay? Grass is grass.
Oh my god.
Your grass is grass, mister.
You okay? I'm so sorry for you and this trauma that I inflicted on you.
Breathe.
You need to do some deep
Grass
inner healing for that.
Is grass. So needless
after
to
that-
say, we don't freaking play road games
We do not
anymore.
play road trip games. No.
Because
That's
some of
our,
us
like,
have to cheat to win.
it was our like road trip rule number 1 after that was never, ever again do we play a road
Yeah.
trip game.
We got to North Carolina, and your mom was like, wow, you guys almost broke up because of 20 questions? It's like, yes, because everything is a competition.
Mom, I hope you understand now if you're listening to this podcast how serious this was in our relationship. Holy crap.
But now, we just go on road trips. There's another really funny road trip story, not involving...
I don't remember the next. So then the next road trip that we took after that, I can't really remember. I think it was then probably just going to Oklahoma, which wasn't really notable. And
Yeah,
then going
except
to,
for when we stopped, we had to go to Oklahoma City for my training to become an air traffic controller. So we went up Florida, through the Panhandle, across all of the scum states.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana.
We didn't go through Georgia. It was
okay.
whatever like little like dingle dippers of those states that stick down. We drove through like 4 states
Alabama,
in like an hour.
Louisiana for sure. I don't know what else is down there.
I don't know. It was like the underbelly
I'm
of
really sorry, Alabama and Louisiana.
like
for
an
that.
alligator. Who wants to drive through that? So then we got to Texas, which was a freaking long drive because we went over to Texas and then straight up. There was one point when we got into Dallas. Got really bad traffic in Dallas, and we're driving down the road really slowly. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this traffic is so bad. And then I look over to my left, and there's just a palmetto bug running down the street faster than we're driving. I'm like, hey, like, can I get a ride with that guy? Like, he's going places. Anyways, so then we went up and we stopped. There was a gas station we stopped at in the middle of nowhere, desert, Texas. And I got out to get some gas for the car, as you do at a gas station. And there was the world's biggest wasp, just like chilling.
I don't remember that at all.
As I'm trying to fill up the gas, I'm like, this thing is gonna like sting me and then take me home and eat me alive. Like, I don't know, like it's about to fly off with me.
I don't remember that at all.
Which now I'm like, well, have you ever heard of like a cicada wasp
Yeah.
or like
Murder hornet.
Yeah, murder hornets or like ground wasps. We have like some freaking huge wasps here in South Dakota that only come out like every 6 years, and it's only to murder the cicadas that come out like once every 6 years.
Yeah.
And that's the only time.
It's the whole thing.
It's real messed up. But no, there
and then
was.
we got to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's fine.
But ever since then, we always, whenever we go to Tennessee or we go to North Carolina, well, we haven't gone to North Carolina in a while now, but Tennessee or Florida now to go see family, we always drive. Like last year was the first time we ever flew.
So here's what happened. The first year that we lived up here, Ethan's dad drove up with his car and a bunch of our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there was still a bunch of our stuff left in Florida. So we decided for Christmas that year, the first year that we lived here, 2017, to drive down to Florida because we wanted to bring back more of our stuff, which was a terrible decision, really, because it was a 24-hour drive. -10, do not recommend. We also then stopped in Tennessee where my mom lived. That was our halfway point, and I don't understand how we made it to Tennessee in one day. I was a younger person.
It's like 16 hours. Not even. No, it's not even 16 because...
17. And we had to go out of the way. Yes. And we had to go out of the way to get to my mom, which was weird. And I was like regretting every decision I ever made. After that first day of driving, I was like, what did we do?
It was totally fine. It would have been fine if you'd have helped drive.
Listen.
Here's the last story I was going to tell about road tripping. Road tripping.
Well, I
Sounds
was
like
going
you're
to
doing
say,
drugs while driving.
then we made it down to Florida. I don't even think we brought that much of our stuff back, which was so stupid.
Yeah,
was
I
dumb.
don't remember
That first trip.
exactly. Anyways, so this was when we were leaving Florida. I just remembered this story.
Oh, okay.
When we were leaving to go
To Oklahoma.
So we left Florida and we were driving and we stopped in
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee to see Rebecca Sudine, now Rebecca Cundiff.
Shout out, love you.
Yep. Never change. So we stopped in Tallahassee to see her, and we stayed a little too late than we should have because we had to set out like we're gonna drive this far day one and then this far day two because we had to get to the academy obviously on a certain day. So we stayed out too late, and then I drove until like
2 or 3.
It wasn't that late. It was like 1 maybe. And then I was like, okay, I'm getting like way too tired. Like you were already like sleeping in the car, so I was like driving by myself. Very low music or no music, like no other cars on the road, just miles and miles of sawgrass putting me to sleep with its
Yep.
So we stopped for the night, and then we had to get an early start to keep up with our pace that we had decided to set. So I started driving, and you just went back to sleep in the car for the beginning. We probably started around like 6 a.m. something, like started on the road at 6 a.m. And so you finally wake up a little bit while later. And so I'm like, I think we stopped for gas or something. I was like, hey,
8 a.m.
I'm
or
like
something at this point.
pretty tired. I stayed up really late, got up really early. I've been driving all day yesterday, all of the morning today. Like, can we switch out so I can just take a rest? And you're like, yeah, that's fine. No problem. So we switch out. So I'm, laying in there, and you're in a car, so it's not comfortable. It's not easy to sleep. Maybe if you can fall asleep easily in a car, weirdo, but I can't.
Well, if you're a smaller person,
Sitting
probably.
Ugh.
You're a giant.
Okay. Second hurtful comment of this
podcast.
So I am like, just laying there trying to sleep. And then it's probably like 45 minutes later or so. And I'm like, finally like starting to drift off into like sleep. I'm like, finally like, okay, I'm falling asleep. Like, this is going to be fine. I'll get some sleep. And I wake up to, and I like wake up and you're like veering off the road. And you're like self-correcting. You're like, I got to pull off. I'm falling asleep. And I'm like, it's been like 45 minutes. You were sleeping in the car, got a full night of sleep, slept this morning, and now it's been 45 minutes and you're like, I got to take a nappy poo. So we pulled off, and because you were like, let's just pull over somewhere and sleep. And I was like, no, we don't have time for that. Yeah. I don't want to waste the time. That's a stupid idea. So we pulled off, switched places again, and I drove the rest of the way. And you hardly ever drive whenever we go anywhere now.
True. I have since then, I think, driven a total of 2 hours on a road trip, non-consecutive.
Yeah, over like 80 hours of driving.
Yeah, it's not a good track record. I think another thing is that like driving through major cities stresses me out, and so I'm happy to drive. I also just really don't like driving at night, so I'm happy to drive first thing in the morning if we're not about to enter a major city. But as soon as that starts to, like, if that's on the radar, I pull off before that, we switch for the major city, and then once we get past it, you don't switch back.
Well, and I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but me and you have talked about how I'm a defensive driver. And when I said that, you were like, oh yeah, I'm a defensive driver too. And I was sitting in the car with you while you were driving, and I'm like, you are such an aggressive driver. I'm like, you are not a defensive driver. And you're like, yeah, I'm defending my lane. And I was like, that is not what a defensive driver does. Like, you're like, stay out of my lane. Yeah, this is my lane. Like, that is not how a defensive driver drives. Defensive driver is like, oh, this person like 4 lanes over might do something weird. I'm going to like ease up a little bit and let them do whatever they want. Like,
yeah. Me driving at any point stresses both of us out more than it's helpful. So it's just easier if you drive. Even if we go from, like, because you drive us pretty much everywhere in town when we go together.
Yeah.
And even if I'm, like, you're, like, tired of driving, right? And you're like, can you just drive wherever we go? Mm-hmm. You get in the car and we're not even, like, we're not even out of the driveway before you're like, why did I do this? Why did I let you do this? I hate it when you drive. Like, it's more trouble than it's worth, honestly, for me to drive at any point. Yeah. So yes, when we talk about road tripping, it is I am passenger and Ethan is driving, and we don't play road trip games because they're detrimental. And we do listen to good music and we do have good conversations, but we don't play road trip games. This last, let's see, other road trips have mentioned, I don't think there's really like a ton. The first year that we drove to Tennessee, what year is it? 2021? Yeah. So last year, 2020, we had flights. They got stupid because of COVID. They had us in like 2 places at once. It wasn't going to work. And so last minute, we decided we'll just drive because we still want to go. Everything's open. It's our anniversary. We still want to go. So we drove. We took Kylo. Mistake number 1. Because we didn't have a place to board him and it was going to be stupid expensive. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to take him. And we stopped off at my mom's. He stayed with my mom for the week, and then she brought him back up to the cabin.
Which that was totally fine until we brought him back, and we were like an hour away from home.
Well, I wasn't even going to say that. I was going to say when we stopped along the way, I think he was just really stressed, and so he would wake up in the middle of the night, and then he would go out, and then he didn't want to pee, and it was like we were trying to drive, and we were driving late, and we were driving early, so we had to make more stops for him so that he could get out and pee in general.
That was fine.
But I mean, overnight, like when we were sleeping, I remember we were both ready to kill him because...
Well, yeah, he was like crying and having a bad time. But that was fine. It was when we were coming back with him, we were like an hour, maybe 2 away from home. He had done like fine for whatever the entire road trip before. Mm-hmm. He throws up out of nowhere. Yep. So we pulled off, cleaned it all up, whatever, let him do his stuff, got back in.
Blessedly did not he had a blanket in his crate. Or like a crate bed or something like that. Yeah. And we had the wherewithal to take it out and leave it out.
Yeah. Then maybe 30 minutes later, he like pees all over in his crate. Mm-hmm. And it was like he did fine until like the last hour of that trip. Right. And then it was like, hey, I'm a terror.
Yeah, it was dumb. And then that was last year. We flew to South Florida rather than driving.
Yeah.
And then this past year in 2021, just this last May, we drove again to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And that was a pretty decent road trip overall. Coming back was stupid at the Kentucky-Tennessee border.
Oh yeah, we got stuck at the Kentucky-Tennessee border. Big 18-wheeler crash in front of us, and we
went like all 4 lanes, like we went from the other side of the highway across
3 miles in like 2 hours. Yeah, and there were no off ramps. We were past all the off ramps. Yeah, there was nothing, so we just
stuck.
And we were like literally just stopped. Like we would move up maybe once every 20 minutes. We'd inch like 5 feet forward. Bad. Like people were like cutting off and doing like U-turns in the grass.
Yeah.
I was like just waiting for someone to get stuck. And
I mean, we thought about it because we at the point that we could have made that decision, we had just gotten on or something, like we had just passed the last off ramp. So I was like, you can turn around and get off, and there's this other way to route us around.
Right.
But you were like, my luck, we'll get stuck. And so
we were kind of weighed down with
other stuff
stuff
from
because we had brought a bunch of stuff from the cabin.
yeah. His parents brought a bunch of our stuff from Florida to the cabin, and then we brought it back here. So that was the last road trip that we took. Next road trip we have planned, I guess, doesn't really classify. Sometime in October, going up to Minneapolis, but it's only 3 hours, so that doesn't really count, as we've established with road trips.
Moral of the story:
don't play road trip games.
Is smaller than a bread box.
No, it is not. Absolutely
my dear.
Not. No, it is not.
My beloved.
You do not know what a bread box is.
And a piece of grass and grass are the same thing.
Nope. No. Absolutely not.